documentary project, which was very related to oral tradition. And when I started my master, I started to think about sonic identities of places. So I discovered my first readings were on acoustic ecology, and then developed into many other issues. And when I started this academic path, so to say, I also started to go to conferences and to sound art exhibitions and sound-related events, and started to think a lot about how do you really display works that feature sound as its main purpose, or the objective is to create awareness onto listening. Because for me, what is interesting about sound art is to create the conditions, the right conditions for people to experience sound in a different way, but also experience space, because sound, as we all know, changes our perception and awareness of space. And so I will stick a little bit to my presentation, and then maybe I can start by, I always like to start here because this was a project. This to say that this is an example of what did I want to say because of this? Of course. Sorry.
Because we
yes. True, it's true. It's okay if you want to see how it sounds. You don't.
I think the sound is going through the HDMI, so you need to...
That's what I thought first, but...
No, it's not?
But it's not. No problem. Improvising. Anyway, this to say what? This to say that in such a circumstance, for example, the festival is very open, and it's dedicated to all kind of levels of expertise, from kids to elder people. And what happens when you create this kind of sonic playgrounds is that this was an experience, people would follow them in the greenhouse and put the ears closer to the plants, try to hear what the branches sounded. So for me, this is a kind of a trigger to understand how sound can really increase your awareness of sound, of sound art. Sorry, just being a bit confused by technology. Anyway, but thank you. Anyway, this to say a little bit, I'm not going to go very much into this, but of course to get into this place we owe a lot to our predecessors. And I really love this novel from Francis Bacon from the 17th century, The New Atlantis, where he thought about an utopian society where progress would be at where people experiment and try technology. This would be the real progress on the society that would at the same time help each other. And so in this sonic utopia, he would also imagine the idea of sound houses. We were in the 17th century, and he developed this idea of sound houses where we practice and demonstrate all sounds and their generation. So he would imagine a place where a lot of processing and a lot of manipulation of sounds would help societies to develop further. Also, of course, in terms of Cage, I would like to speak about the white paintings, which were a kind of an influence to the 433 piece we all know, because of this idea of blank canvas, where all shadows, all dust, all things aside would come to the foreground. And then of course Martino has also an important reference that brought Cage's ideas out of the auditoriums. This said, and let me go for I started to think about how do we really connect to the space, and of course the public space became naturally an arena or a kind of a playground. Of course, if we think of public space, we think of, especially after the pandemic, where I think the public space became even more important, because it's where people can exchange ideas, exercise their citizenship, improve their democracy, and so it's very much connected to a lot of different topics. And of course, nature should be something to consider. Architecture also, rhythm, diversity in regards of everyone should be comfortable in any public space, and agency because of these democratic ideals, which I think is pretty much connected to the public space. So I started to propose the festival in different public spaces, and also because in the very beginning of my research I focused a lot on acoustic ecology, and of course, as we all know, it relates a lot with also problems of noise. But more and more I've been moving away from sound on a negative approach, because we tend to think a lot about sound on a negative aspect, and what starts to interest me more and more, and especially because I've been talking with a lot of people from many different fields, and since astrophysicists or biologists or people from many different disciplines win or gain a lot of new information and new insights from sound. So I started to think about sound as a resource and not so much of sound as a problem. And so many scientific approaches to sound can also be used by artists. So I always try to approach some different topics, and of course the environment and ecology became an important one, especially because the spaces I've been using, of course, bring a lot of this. This is a greenhouse which I used several times. Also water reservoirs in Lisbon, of course, this edition was very much connected to water issues. Again, the greenhouse, and in 2020, because of the approach from the festival being so connected to the environment, we were invited to be part of Lisbon was the green capital, European green capital that year, and we were invited to be part of this. Of course, we had COVID, which was an interesting situation, because before COVID, and now a little I'm improvising, as you can understand, but because there are so many things to say about this. Before COVID, I don't know if this happened in your places, but for example, Lisbon is a city that has been really touristified in the last 10 years. It changed a lot. So I remember to be part of these discussions before in 2019 of people that got together because of the problems related to the noise in the city. Specifically, noise coming from entertaining and open-air discotheques and tourism, massive tourism. So there was a lot of discussion about sound from this perspective, and then came COVID, and people again were talking a lot about sound, which was something I found quite interesting to see and read people saying, oh, now I hear these birds, I didn't know they were there, or other sounds that came up when cities got empty. Anyway, so I think sound,